Greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Want to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button for me. There's a PayPal link down below for anybody that wants to share some love. It is always appreciated, and every little bit is appreciated. In the meantime, the StreamYard link is down there for anybody that wants to join the panel. And tonight we're going to be discussing trust in how the principal-agent relationship works, who's supposed to be bonded. And we're going to start out first with a couple little videos here. So let me pull those up. And the first one we've got here, there goes my mouse again. I got to figure that out. It says this one here is a First Amendment issue where we have the freedom of expression, and that means we get to, that means that in our freedom of expression, that doesn't mean we can only express ourselves in writing. We can express ourselves visually. And so what we're going to look at here is the visual expression of freedom of expression of our thoughts and project and how we project them towards others. So let's watch this and see what happens.
You don't touch one thing in my car.
Let's start over. It didn't have any sound there. And why it's not coming up with my sound.
You don't touch one thing in my car. You want to pull your fucking gun on me? You son of a bitch.
Get somebody else over here now.
Oh my God, you can't pull your fucking gun on me? Look at him. You don't ever reach in my car. You don't ever fucking reach in my car. You understand that? You have a fucking semi-automatic weapon, a taser, and a bulletproof vest.
And what he did was he reached into the guy's car because he saw a knife sitting on the seat. And I don't care who you think you are, or what kind of authority you think you are, you don't have any authority to either open another man's door of any of their temples, whether it be their home or their car. And this goes to the issue of the onus probandi of providing privacy. This is something they don't seem to allow in automobiles because of the tint laws. They are violating our right to privacy by telling us we can't have tinted windows on cars. Okay? Understand this.
And you're worried about a knife. You tell me what you stopped me for.
I wanted to see what your problem was with me.
Okay, what law did I...
Exactly. I wanted to see what your problem was with me. I don't care if you think I've got a problem with you. That's not against the law. To have a problem with somebody is not against the law. And to express that you have a problem with somebody is not against the law. These people get in their feelers and think that gives them authority. Simply because he's wearing a gun, mace, pepper spray, whatever, and a vest and all that, that doesn't give you authority. That's just a fucking costume.
I break? Come on, tell me, you dumb son of a bitch. What law did you break? What law did you break?
Disorderly conduct by flipping.
Disorderly conduct. It's called freedom of speech. Look at.
See, they can't convert a right into a criminal action, and that's what they do. Greetings, Mitch. That's what they do when they pose these trespass things against people because they're in fear. That's just because you are in fear of something doesn't mean somebody else broke a law. You have to have probable cause first and foremost in any of these situations.
Look at this. That's what that is. Freedom of speech, you dumb.
He was brought to jail, and it appears as though the insurance company contacted him very quickly and wanted a quiet resolution.
What seems to be...
And wanted a quiet resolution. This is known as settlement out of court. And if you remember, the term finance means to settle, to put an end. So that's what we're talking about. It's settlement. It's an out-of-court settlement because we don't belong in those courts. We're supposed to be making a claim to the surety company. They're responsible to investigate the principal and if they're violating the contract. And in that violation of contract, there's a violation of contract pursuant to another contractor, or if they're violating that contract, and in that violation of the contract, they violate one of the beneficiary's rights, now they've breached trust law. Okay? Greetings, Mitch. How you doing tonight, brother?
Doing pretty good, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, this is very interesting to me because this is right up the alley of what I'm dealing with right now, too. So.
Yeah. Well, the next one, you guys know I talk about the post office an awful lot. And we've got a little clip here, about a 5 or 6 minute clip of the Senate committee going up to, reaming Louis DeJoy's ass about the overdue mail, the mail that's being delivered late. And it's getting horrendous. But what I want to point out is the context of the way these people are speaking to each other. And as we go through this video, I'm going to point out the trust as it relates to the people and correlate our position with theirs. So let's look at this. And this is from everything USPS with J. Let me pull that up, and we'll drop his link down there for everybody.
And excuse my ignorance, but for just a point of clarity, who is the surety company? Is that the Fed?
Oops. The surety company is the one we're supposed to be going against, and it depends on who you're dealing with. So if you're dealing with the municipality, you get a hold of the city clerk and find out who the surety company is. And when we have rogue officers that won't identify properly and give you their bonding number, you get that bonding number from the city clerk as well. And that's what I'm waiting on for today. The mayor did call me back and let me know that they tried telling me that the officers weren't bonded. So I let him know that under federal code, all public officials are supposed to be bonded. And we're running around with officers in this community that are not bonded. I'm going straight to the federal government right now. And they called me back within 5 minutes and let me know that the traveler's insurance is who's covering their surety. But in looking up the traveler's insurance, which I'll go over later, we find out that we need a distinct traveler's insurance because there's several of them. And so the name has to be specific. So let's take a look at this. This is DeJoy's job, now at risk. Gets his first real internal investigation, grilled like a T-bone steak. And I agree. The Senate committee is getting on him. So let's take a look at this.
Core job of the Postal Service is to deliver mail and packages on time, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are mail and packages being delivered on time in Georgia today?
No, sir.
Why not?
And this is not just Georgia. This is endemic across the country.
We have had significant issues in terms of transitioning from 11 plants in the Atlanta area into 3.
Excuse me, could you speak into the microphone, please?
We've taken on a big Atlanta has been one of our worst, the Georgia area has been one of our worst served areas over the last 10 years, mostly because we had 10, 12 different locations around the Atlanta area.
Mr. Joe, I don't want to talk about the last 10 years. I want to talk about the last 3 months.
All right. Well,
do you know, since you made this shift to the new Palmetto facility, what % of outbound first-class mail was delivered on time in Atlanta?
It's significantly lower now.
Greetings, Imperium. How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing great. Thank you, guys.
Good to hear it. Good to hear it. Glad you joined. And there's that link down in the chat section for everybody for everything USPS with JH. And he's a postal worker himself, so he's up to date on all the current internal regulatory changes and everything. And that's why I say I'm on the Postal Service, because that's the actual point of origin for both journals and posting. Journaling and posting, and that's that freedom of expression. We have a right to journal, and that's what we're going to do at 9 o'clock, is go over some journaling stuff. Greetings, Russ. How you doing tonight, brother?
Greetings. Doing well. Good to see everyone again.
Good to hear. Glad you're here to support us.
Absolutely.
So let's continue on.
Yeah, 66%. Do you know what share of inbound mail, first-class mail is delivered on time?
It's probably all a day late. So
Take a guess how much of it's on time.
35%.
You're pretty much there, 36%. 36% of the mail is being delivered on time to my constituents. What is the specific nature of the operational failure?
Okay, here we go. To my constituents. Now, Louis DeJoy is subject to the Senate committee. And my constituents are the commercial entities. So in respects to the Senate committee and Louis DeJoy, the Senate committee is the one that gives Louis DeJoy his powers. So in this aspect, the Senate committee would be the grantor or owner. So they're supposed to benefit from the trust position that they qualify Louis DeJoy for. In that, that's the benefit to the people. And that's what the Senate represents. So it's a representation of the people, and Louis DeJoy is a trustee for the people, which the Senate committee represents both commercially and individually in their private capacities. That's the trust. So when we're talking about all this mail, what we're going to be talking about is, like he's going to mention here, is prescriptions. People that are not even part of the system, and they're disabled, and they're depending upon the prescriptions, and they're not getting their prescriptions on time. That's not only a violation of postal code, but that's a violation of the drug codes. See, that means somebody else is in possession of a prescription that they're not qualified to be in possession of.
Well, the specific nature they operate, we had to move 2,000 people from all these different plants into one location. We have strict requirements as to when they move. It's a big facility that we opened up. We have inbound transportation issues.
Greetings, Noah. Welcome to the panel. How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm good. I'm at work, so I've been kind of eavesdropping, I guess, but I've been wanting to join you for a long time, and this is my opportunity. So if I'm just in the background, I want to listen, and then I'll participate in a little bit.
You bet. Anytime, brother. Just let me know when you want to say something.
Yeah, but you knew it was going to be hard and complicated, right?
Yeah, and we tried to phase it in over several months, which we did, and we're gonna fix it. You're absolutely
when
right.
is it going to be fixed?
You will start seeing service improve. You should see it start now, and I think we'll get to where we need to be in about 60 days.
Do you think?
So, as it goes to the Senate committee cutting him off when he was talking about 10 years prior, he's talking about now. And now Louis DeJoy is saying it should take us about 60 days. Pay attention to what comes up next in regards to private carriers and the fact that they wouldn't institute such a program if they knew it would cause such great delays. This goes to the incompetence of these people in the federal government.
That one of your private sector competitors would have rolled out a new, hold on a second, Mr. Joy, a new system that would reduce on-time delivery to 36% and then say it's going to take months to fix it? Months?
Private businesses and taking on operations of this nature with the resources that we have do in fact have these types of problems.
You don't have months to fix 36% of the mail being delivered on time.
Do have these types of problems, but they don't have the problem at a 36% delivery rate, meaning that 64% is not being delivered. No private entity would survive in business like that. They have to have customer satisfaction.
Constituents with prescriptions that aren't being delivered. I've got constituents who can't pay their rent and their mortgages. I've got businesses who aren't able to ship products or receive supplies. I wrote you on.
And that's one of the things that I wanted to comment on here is because if I know myself that a mortgage is merely against an address, then the mortgages are the responsibility of Louis DeJoy as well. Again, they are not foreclosing on you or the home. They are actually foreclosing on the address because the address is the thing that securitizes everything. It's the Postal Service that has the Real Estate Investment Trust, and they have an interlocal agreement with the municipality who named the street, and then the Postal Service in a contract to deliver to each individual needful place and building that has an address on it. That's their code. That's their system of record keeping. So everything that goes through the mail from point A to point B is a record of the Postal Service, no matter whether it's coming from the local municipality, the county, or the state, or even the federal government. It's still a postal issue, period, in all cases.
March 14th. Did you get my letter?
My office probably, my office guy.
I didn't write your office. I wrote you. Did you receive my letter?
See what he tried to play off? He tried to play off that it wasn't his responsibility, but that it was his office. But listen to what he says next.
I have not read your letter.
You haven't read my letter.
I tried to speak to you Friday or yesterday.
See, he said it directly to him, not his office.
So this kind of, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt, but I just was curious. This is similar to us needing to go after not the agency, but the agent, maybe, huh?
Correct. And that's what we're going to go over here is principals or agents acting for principal. The agent is liable for acts as principal, and even if the agent is professing they're not liable, it doesn't matter. It's still the principal is ultimately responsible, so they are held liable as well. And this is where the principal can turn around and throw the agent under the bus if you go after the insurance claim, because they're not going to let you make a claim against them. So it's imperative to understand that if you're going after an agent, and that's why I'm in communication with with the mayor, because the mayor is the executive. So it's his responsibility to make sure that the chief of police knows his responsibilities. And one of the chief of police's responsibility is to make sure that he maintains training of his officers to guide and make sure that they do their job. So ultimately, it goes right up the line. If you've got an officer that's violating it as an agent, his principal is the chief of police. But as a chief of police, he's an agent, and the executive office of the mayor is the principal. In all cases, the people are the beneficiary.
And this is why a mayor who settles a claim.
Correct. And that's why I say you go after the surety company and have them and file a claim with them, and they're supposed to investigate. This keeps it out of the court. You're going after that surety bond, which they're playing as a fidelity bond.
I haven't read my letter. The mail's not on time in Georgia. I'm a member of the committee of jurisdiction. You haven't read my letter. Well, that explains why I haven't received a response to my letter. March 14th, I wrote you with 2 specific questions.
That's all it was. 2 questions. That's all he had to read, and he didn't read it.
Update can you provide regarding the aforementioned reported issues at the Atlanta Regional Processing and Distribution Center in Palmetto? Question 1. Question 2, how is USPS currently communicating with customers in the Metro Atlanta area reporting delayed and lost packages? You haven't read the letter?
So letters come in, people put stuff together to answer it and get.
Let me just give you just a friendly piece of advice. You should personally read letters from members of the U.S. Senate committee that funds and oversees your operations.
That funds and oversees your operations. So when it comes to the people, again, I assure you people, we, the people, fund everything they do. We are, in fact, the true owners. Without us, they wouldn't have a fucking thing to do.
We, the people, are the full faith and credit of the United States.
Correct. And though the government the Congress makes rules for the government, they are dependent upon the people for that government.
Particularly where you are failing abysmally to.
Go ahead, brother.
When you go after their bonds, are we going after them in their official capacity? Or
yes.
Is that also? Okay.
Yes, you go after them in their official capacity, and in their official
the lawsuit would be the private capacity, correct?
Right, but you bonds? but you go after their official capacity first to get the claim through. Once you have the claim through, now you've got a valid claim that you can put in for a judgment on the private side.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Fulfill your core mission in my state. And let me be clear, I think postal workers are out there every single day working their hearts out to deliver the mail on time. But
and just to help you out here, when you make that claim against the surety company, again, my position is not to go after them in their individual capacity as a claim for any kind of pecuniary damages or anything, unless you actually have, like massive medical bills and stuff that are going to continue on in your life. But the premise here is continuing education or removal from official capacity, one or the other. If you want to continue on in full faith and credit of the United States, we will give you that opportunity. This is your warning. Screw me once, shame on you. Screw me twice, shame on me. Okay? So it's not a matter of being vindictive or anything. It's just a matter of making sure that they understand that we are the people and they are to serve us. It is a master-servant issue, period. And again, if that hurts them, that's fine. I don't care about their feelers.
But if they don't have the infrastructure and the management competence overhead them to make a transition like this without drastically impairing the core function of the Postal Service, everyone in my state is losing. The amount...
Everyone in every state, like I said, it's endemic across the board. It applies to the entire country.
Of distress this is causing my constituents is massive. And I want to know what you are going to do, what specific steps you are going to take to fix this within 2 weeks.
So we have engaged over 50 different management executives on site.
And real quick here, I want to pull up one of my favorite codes, 5 CFR.
You know what I always notice? These guys always talk about all these people on board. Well, homie, you're in the hot seat. Well, you bring on all these people to tell you how to do your job.
Exactly.
It's insane to me, and we pay for all this shit.
Yep. And this goes to the thing about the Senate committee's members' statement on competencies. Competencies under 5 CFR 575.102 means the knowledge, skills, abilities, behaviors, and other characteristics an individual needs to perform the duties of a position. Now, this is the same code that tells us the federal government means all entities of the government of the United States, including the United States Postal Service and the Postal Regulatory Commission. So Mr. Louis DeJoy, as the Office of Inspector General, he is subject to the Postal Regulatory Commission. So, again, this is why I hound
on this management for the post office. Because the postmasters should have surety bonds as well, shouldn't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's what we're investigating now. Is we're going to go over some surety bond issues and with the code and talk about who's supposed to be bonded and everything.
We're finishing up our staffing at at the remaining 3 locations. We are looking at our truck schedules, revamping our truck schedules. We are stabilizing the operation in terms of our machinery that we have deployed there. We are working better on we have special teams down on site working on our docks, and we're working the rest of the transportation aspects of this that are causing a significant amount of problems. And the 2 plants where we did a lot of transfers within the next 10 days, we should have them fully staffed. We had issues in terms of those transfers. So the team is working very hard. And I can assure you that in the long run, right, that you will have probably the best service in the country.
No, the long run is too long. You've got weeks, not months. You've got weeks, not months to fix this. And if you don't fix it, 36% on-time delivery, I don't think you're fit for this job. I yield to Senator Butler.
Ooh! See, this goes to suitability. Fit to serve. And he just told him he doesn't think he's fit to serve. That's a powerful statement. It's telling them they plan on getting him out of there if he doesn't start doing his job and do it now to full satisfaction. And notice this is Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, and this is Homeland Security as a matter of redress for misidentification. Again, it all goes to Homeland Security and Postal Service for the identification, and that's the name and address. And I'm telling you, the public education system indoctrinated you into giving the wrong identification. What do you got? Anybody?
Well, oh, so if he says he's unfit to serve, when do we get a chance to say they're unfit to serve us, right? If they've been derelict in their duties or their fiduciary responsibility has been lacking or failing, and the things that we see in our life haven't improved over the last, in my 45 years of being on this in this realm, they've failed miserably. I mean, rent's up, inflation's up, the mismanagement of money, all sorts of stuff in California. They're saying there's a giant deficit in money and spending. We've lost money on all the homelessness. It's like, so when do you get to say you're fired, right? When is it that you're derelict of duty or you kind of get what I'm going with. It's just they can call each other out when we get to call each other out. But when we say that it's dangerous to be right when the government's wrong,
Absolutely.
I think you were on it too. You almost said it. It's malfeasance because they have a trustee position, and they have a fiduciary obligation to, do what's beneficial for the benefactors.
Well, that's right. All this stuff was to benefit us. And again, if we consented to allow these people to represent our benefits, our wishes, right, or to almost manage some of the things that we can't manage, and if they're mismanaging that, I can't stress it enough. Like, when do you just say, time out, you're fired? Just simple as that. But again, I think Keith, you brought up some other point a long time ago. If we're not creating, if we don't have a sort of a backup plan or backup system to fill the void, then what ends up being in its place, right? So I kind of agree somewhere along the lines that you've said before is unless we've come with a plan, we really can't remove what we've got going on per se. So it's really kind of how we manage ourselves, but also, I don't see ourselves delivering our own mail, but that's where we outsource these services to. So, and
we can do that to a private mailer.
That's another question I was going to say is like, when then are we doing PMAs or other private associations so that we allow ourselves to do these transactions without a third party? And that's the issue, is that we allowed this third party to also interject where we don't want them to. So that's my 2 cents. But then my last thing is the other issue is when we put, and I haven't done it myself, but notice the principals, notice the agent, notice the principal. A lot of that has to start with, once we've notified the underlings, that the higher up has been notified instantly. So along the same vein, if we tell someone, in, like, to your point, the mayor, that means his higher ups have been notified regardless of whether he told them. You put it in the system, it's notified, right? So we have to start going at even the lower level to say, listen, timeout, or you've been noticed, and then allow that to permeate the system in a sense. And then how do we get enforcement, though, is the other problem,
Well, and that's the part that has to go beyond the notice. And that's why I'm trying to show people we're not supposed to go to those courts. We're supposed to go to the surety company to put in our claim, to have them investigate. And when they investigate, if they come back and say that they don't find anything and you have actual factual evidence, then you go to the upper arm, and that's the United States, and you go against the surety company. Because the surety company, if you've got material fact evidence that they're denying and you have evidence to show otherwise, now you can make a claim against the very surety company. And the United States, under full faith and credit, is the joint partner in that surety bond company stuff. They're the ones that allow them to be a surety company. Therefore, there's a joinder. So the United States is always going to be the joinder.
You know what's disturbing to me in all of this is they already know at the top levels what's going on in this game, but yet the moral compass is still off.
Some of it feels like it's because they know that they're being benefited, or they're able to get such money and power through it, and that somehow they know they're hidden behind the court system or hidden behind another veil. It's like, so what Keith's been trying to do is lift the veil by not going to their avenues or their pathway, right? We need to kind of almost walk a different path. Like, you know, that's really just how we got to learn how to do this, navigate the system.
Well, what I think keeps them alive is the lack of knowledge and wisdom within the communities. That's how they thrive.
Right. I totally understand. Yeah.
When you start to illuminate them with the light of truth, and that starts to spread, then I think we'll start to see some major changes.
Well, something to bring up that I encountered just a few days ago was an insurance agent, and he's saying that these insurance companies are literally dropping people's policies with absolutely no warning and leaving the state of California. I would almost argue that they should have never been able to allow that to happen, but it is happening. So again, when they're seemingly, so how I see it is the state is mismanaging it. These companies and corporations are able to withdraw. If they can withdraw, where are we able to withdraw? And I kind of was trying to push that with this insurance agent. Why would I sign up with your company? Why don't I just pull everything I have? You know,
and that's actually a good point, Noah, because when we get involved in these insurance companies, like you said, and they want to pull out, that's all we have to do is pull out of this government. We have to pull out the ID. That's the problem. Again, they indoctrinated us starting at 5 years of age, incorporating the legal name and teaching us how to spell that and sign it and put it with an address. Nobody taught us the purpose of that, nor the substantial inherent harm that could be caused by it if you don't know how to sign qualified. And that's a big problem. Nobody was ever taught how to civilly act in a business manner. Again, that United States citizenship is a United States business. Right. So the conference, a grant, a gift of a nationality known as United States citizenship is the grant of a business upon your birth. How can you run a business when you're born? You can't. And how can it be presumed that you are a resident, a federal, state, or municipal officer or agent whose resident presence is deemed necessary when you're not even age of majority to be able to go before a board and be competent to discuss it and determine whether you're needed or not? Everything we do in life is voluntary.
Right. But that's my inherent question for my family was, so you signed me up with the Social Security card, and I remember signing it about like 13 years old or some ridiculous number, and then I'm hearing that, I have to be 18 to be an adult, you have to sign. So why did I sign that document? Why did I sign that blue card? So that was my question, right? Because if I'm it just, you entered me into a contract that I didn't want to be part of,
and you did unlawfully because I wasn't of age.
You can't hold you to nothing anyway, can they? Because there's no two signatures on that document.
Exactly.
So all of it's just a figment of our imagination. But another fascinating part that I find is the finances. We all know that there's probably only 5 steps to the transfer and this conversion that's going on. These folks know what the hell they're doing.
Yep.
It's gonna take the people to wake up and let them know what it is they're doing to make the change. I'm starting to really think that's what it's going to take.
Yep. Now
Keith has been talking about just again putting them on notice or notices, right? And they say they file all this stuff in the public notice or public square, and then it becomes law, or they can do their little meetings and then create statutes and codes. And so if I put it out in the newspaper that, fuck you, I'm done, I don't know what more I need to do, right? That's my notice.
Exactly.
Right?
A legal notice in the paper that you no longer consent to contracting with the government.
We've done that 1,000 times out here.
You are no longer you are no longer in any situation to be considered a contractor without your qualified statement of intent and consent. Period. I'm not qualified to fill any offices. So the real issue here is that on the other side of the public office is the public welfare. And in Title 45 public welfare, we have regulations relating to public welfare, legal services corporation. Bonding requirements for recipients. Who must be bonded? A recipient must supply fidelity bond coverage for all employees, officers, directors, agents, and volunteers.
Oh.
So under our volunteer, we've been covered by a fidelity bond, which is same thing as a surety bond. And so when we walk into those administrative courts, the presumption is that we are a surety. Pure and simple. And that's under the health and public welfare program, because we're a recipient. Is that sick or what? That's that spell of illness. If a recipient uses a third party for payroll, billing, or collection services, remember the other day we talked about champerty and maintenance, and one of them is about collection. The recipient must either supply coverage covering the third party or ensure that the third party has a fidelity bond or similar insurance coverage. This is Social Security. The recipient is supplying coverage for the third party. You're the third party beneficiary, and the recipient is the Social Security Administration at the state that receives funding from the federal government. Where do they get that federal funding again, folks?
Is it the public trust? I mean, is that like how I'm looking at it? Like, is that where they, or the taxes? I mean, again, I don't know.
The people fund everything, even the federal government. So the recipient of federal government funds, which is the Social Security Administration, is covering us through an insurance. And we know this how? Because that's what Social Security is. It's an insurance. And they're providing a fidelity bond saying we will not commit any crimes, and that if we do, there's a surety bond that will place us as surety so they don't have to take upon that surety. As we continue, for recipients with subgrants, the recipient must extend his fidelity bond coverage to supply identical coverage to the recipient, and the subrecipient and the subrecipient's directors, officers, employees, agents, and volunteers to the extent required to comply with this part. Now, if that's a United States citizen in the United States business, and you don't have any directors, officers, employees, agents, or volunteers, then how are you a United States business? If you're not organized under the laws of the United States, then how are you a United States business? If you don't have a permit to do business, then how are you doing business? The subrecipient must supply proof of its own fidelity bond coverage that meets the requirements of this part for the subrecipient's directors, officers, employees, agents, and volunteers. So again, if you're a subrecipient and you don't have a business, then you don't have to supply us fidelity bonds because you're not running a United States business. Therefore, you don't need to be a recipient of a fund. Again, why, folks? Because we are the ones that fund everything.
Full faith and credit.
And guess what we're going to look at next? We're going to look at the agricultural code. Agriculture, you know, the code that says animal includes but is not limited to man. Did you know that the Farm Credit Insurance Act is the thing that funds the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation? They get all of their funding from the commodities. And one of those commodities is what? Man. When construing or enforcing the provisions of this chapter, the act, omission, or failure of any person acting for or employed by a research facility, a dealer, or an exhibitor, or a person licensed as a dealer or an exhibitor pursuant to the second sentence of Section 2133 of this title, or an operator of an auction sale subject to Section 2142 of this title, or an intermediate handler or a carrier. You see why I go to the Postal Service, folks? Within the scope of his employment or office, if I am unemployed then how does any of this apply to me? It doesn't. It applies to the people that are filling those official offices and performing according to a contract because they are employed. Shall be deemed the act, omission, or failure of such research facility, dealer, exhibitor, licensee, operator of an auction sale, intermediate handler, or carrier, as well as of such person.
Backing up just a sentence, his employment or office, I think it's important to recognize that a U.S. citizen is considered an employee of the United States, I believe. So.
Correct. That's the 5 U.S.C. 552A, records maintained on individuals. And they're collected from the state, who has that agreement to be funded in order to gather all the information for the United States to eventually be entered into the National Archives. So let's take a look at the next one, which is, again, agriculture. Liability of principal for agent. When construing and enforcing the provisions of this chapter, the act, omission, or failure of any agent, officer, or other person acting for the employed or by any person or employed by any person within the scope of his employment or office shall in every case be deemed also the act, omission, or failure of such person as well as that of such agent, officer, or other person. So as we were speaking earlier, it goes up and down the line both. If I notice somebody in the middle and he's a principal for somebody else underneath him, but yet he's an agent for a principal above him, then that notice goes both up and down the line. Does that sound familiar? The law is construed to be uniform throughout all jurisdictions. So that means if you have a mayor who is filling an executive office and he has a trustee under which he is a principal that gives a grant to an officer to put that badge on, then that's an agent-principal relationship. When the officer that's wearing that badge wants to come contract with me, he is acting as principal and trying to make me his agent. Ain't gonna work. Not against me. So the next one I've got is, let me pull it all the way up to the top. List of certified companies, and this is from the Bureau of Fiscal Services. Surety bonds, and then list of certified companies. So when we go down to T, like I said, the lady told me it was Travelers Insurance, but we have certified insurance companies or certified surety companies listed as Travelers Casualty and Surety. We have Travelers Casualty and Surety Company of America. We have Travelers Casualty Insurance Company of America. So we have Travelers Casualty and Surety Company of America, Travelers Casualty Insurance Company of America, Travelers Casualty and Surety Company, Travelers Indemnity Company, the Travelers, and then we have the Travelers Indemnity Company of America. Then we have Travelers Indemnity Company of Connecticut. Then we have Travelers Property Casualty Company of America. So I have to figure out which one of these that the local Travelers Insurance Company is working under. So that's why I'm waiting for the call from the city clerk. So we can figure out which one of these companies I need to address. What do you got, Mitch? I know you got your no?
Well, no, then I'm just processing, and it was fascinating how it's formatted, much like the corruption or the deception that we see with the United States of America, United States.
Keith Little, Keith Orland Little, comma, Keith Orland, or Keith, yeah. It's all the same thing. It's a misconstruing of the language because we've never been taught concise English. When you realize what concise English is, you'll find out that when you look at this, you'll be able to discern the differences and say, hey, wait a minute, something's wrong here. That ain't the company that I was dealing with. That's different. So let's take a look at the next one. The next one I did was I pulled up Form 10K. This is United States Securities and Exchange Commission, and this is what qualifies them. And this says the Travelers Companies, Inc. Travelers
That's your
Companies.
trustees?
I don't know. I'm still trying to find out the information. So, oops, let's take a look at this here. This here talks about, where was it? I just saw it. There we go. Market for registrants' common equity. So everything has to do with equity and the related shareholder matters and issuer purchases of equity securities. So don't tell me securities don't deal with equity, okay? That's what securities are all about. It's about the equity forum. And if there's one error, it can and most likely will destroy the entire record. This is why I say I'm not going after them in their official capacity or their title. I'm going after the record so it will be known that, oops, we included him when we shouldn't have. The next
Well,
one
I've
is,
kind of always looked at it as the record, and I maybe that was just a little crutch for me to hold on to that information possibly, but I always looked at the record as the beneficiary. And the protection of life better be in those words on that record. Otherwise, obviously, these people are deceptive. Wouldn't you agree?
absolutely, everything's deceptive. It's deceptive from the time they send you to school.
It's either right or it's wrong on that paper. It's either valuable or a detriment on that paper.
Yep, and that's why I talk so much about the public education system as well. When the public education system is the one that teaches you to write your name in the legal format and put it to an address so they can get you home safely, that's the wrong context. They should be teaching you concise English, and they're not. They are not. That is not the common parlance of the common man. So the United States government is failing in that requirement for plain writing. You cannot use your grammatical twists and turns as if though that's plain writing. Plain writing is correlating to concise English. So you can be concise and use a logic path to discern what is being said. And that's what people are missing out. If you don't know a logic path to the language, you'll be confused by it. That's what legalese is. It's a confusion. And remember, we went over the definition of legalese, and it's specifically stated in there with the intent to confuse the common man.
What is that?
That's their own definition. Yes, devilry.
Devilry.
So this one here is their proxy statement, and this is their sigil. This is their logo, and it simply says "Travelers" with an umbrella. So again, we have to talk to the city clerk to find out exactly which one it is and what the bond numbers are of these two officers. The next one I've got is Black's Law 4th. And it's not coming up. $1,050. Okay. Oh, no, this is for the next stream. I'm sorry. My apologies. This is for our stream on Journal. So let me pull out of here and stop screen share. And so that's what it comes down to, is that these all these officials are supposed to be bonded under principal and agent. And the main principle, again, like Mitch said, is the full faith and credit which comes from the people. And they're required to be bonded because if they violate the people that are funding them, then they are destroying their very own system that allows the people to put them in that job. This is why it's imperative that we start standing up for our rights. Otherwise, they're going to continue stealing your property, our property, what is proper to us, what actually belongs to us for our possession and use by their title, which is for control and entry. So it's very important to understand, like the situation with the church over here or the school, when they try to pose that they're in fear. First of all, I fear not, for I have been redeemed. He has called me by thy name, I am his. So they're the ones living in fear. And this is plain and simple, because the only reason they're trying to trespass me is because they have a fear that I might attack one of those children, whether physically or sexually. And that means that they're trying to placate that I'm a child predator. And that's egregious. And they're the ones posing that they're the Christians.
Well, you know that SS-16, they say, I guess it could be a religious order as well. You know, when I asked that...
Religious order under 501c3? Fuck you. That again tells me that you're subject to the United States. You're an agent of the United States.
Right. But when I asked you about if you heard that term, a state manager, before, the reason I asked that is I went and looked. And it sounds an awful lot like local government in our communities. Like it says they're the top household. He or she works directly with the owners to plan and execute overall management of property and services. Goes on to say, based on the size of property, and the state manager may wear many other hats or delegate these functional areas to dedicated experts to employ to the employer's stable.
Yeah.
Interfacing with accountants, attorneys, curators, captains, pilots, architects, financial advisors, and more.
Yeah, that's
par for the course.
That's okay. Pay attention, folks. 5-Speed brought up a good thing. The stable, that's the livery stable. Back in the Old West, they called them livery stables. Now it's known as delivery.
And your counties used to be parishes, didn't they?
Fascinating.
Absolutely.
And the counties used to be parishes.
Yep, and that's that animal includes but is not limited to man. What do they keep animals in? Stables. They're called liveries. What's that house with that postal address on it? It's a livery, and you've been delivered.
Interesting.
So when it comes to that local government, Russ was just talking about, that's the slugs, state and local government securities. This is the municipal security bonds that they're issuing based on the residents, using the residents as the sureties. And I've got all kinds of information brought up on it. So we've got slugs, which is NASDAQ. Remember we went over those definitions? We have the Federal Register, U.S. Treasury securities, state and local government securities. Treasury Direct. Remember I talk about Treasury Direct offset program. I call them up every 6 months to check with that name and social security number, see if there's any debts pledged against it. And they consistently tell me no. Same with the state UCC 11. Nope, no debts. So who is posing a debt against that name and saying that it's me, but the local county? No one else. So are they making a false? So are they making a false claim? Absolutely.
What even goes on to say?
And I have 2 records as a witness. I have 2 records. Key. I have 2 records that are greater than theirs that say no, there is no such debt. So they haven't reported a debt to their principal. Oops. Are they trying to hide something? Are they omitting something? Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, it says those managers, again, it also says the maintenance of grounds and the collections and everything. So what's your local municipality doing? They're creating the collections through the paperwork.
Yep.
Of all those residents creating those securities.
Yep. Now watch this. On point again.
And this, I just saw, I heard that word, and it was put P. Diddy, a shit with P. Diddy, and they said is a state manager, and I go read, and it sounds just like local government.
Yep. Now watch this. Go ahead, Mitch.
All right, yeah. Excuse me while I dumb it down for just a minute, just to see if I got the concept right, and hopefully maybe it'll help someone else. But I think that what they're doing essentially is positioning themselves as trustees, which actually makes them liable, but nobody is holding them accountable. So therefore, they continue just to get away with whatever the hell they want.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, see here in Kenton County now, this master commissioner in Kenton County, when I look him up at the Secretary of State, he's the registered agent under Yogi Inc. And then after Yogi Inc., there's all of these other things, but the last name is Patel, and it's Rashir Patel, and many different derivatives and combinations. But from what I'm gathering, they're creating these charities, and they're basically estate managers, bro. From what I'm seeing.
Yep. And
just like the rich and famous have.
And I don't see any securities agreements for Yogi Inc., just so you know.
Yeah, right.
Now, what we have before us in relation to those state and local government securities, notice here at the top, it says, determining whether a potential investor is a resident or non-resident for securities law purposes, where government policies and business realities converge. So this is where in the Article 1, Section 8, Congress shall make rules for the government and converging them with businesses and calling you a business, and therefore they say they get to regulate you, make rules for you, because you've had a communication with Congress, when that's not so. You've never had a communication with Congress, and it was only a conference or a conveyance, a gift of a United States business known as a United States citizenship that no one's ever educated on. No one is ever educated on this in the public education system. And I never went to any college or anything, so I don't even know if they educate anybody in that in the colleges. It says determining whether a potential investor is a resident or non-resident for security law purposes. A fundamental tenet of the federal securities laws is that all purchases or sales of securities must either be registered under the Securities Act of 1933 or qualify for an exemption from registration. This is your local government security slugs. The primary exemption relied upon by issuers seeking investors pursuing a visa. See, what's a visa, guys?
Credit card.
Well, a visa in this sense is a invitation. A visa is an invitation. Investors pursuing an invitation under EB-5 program is provided by Regulation S under the Securities Act. Regulation S generally provides that the registration requirements of the Securities Act do not apply to offers and sales of securities if both the offer and sale occur outside the United States. So guess what? Is Iowa outside of the United States if the United States is located in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, but the state of Iowa would not be, right?
Well, it depends on context.
That's how
Exactly.
they trick people.
Okay, but it's not the state we're dealing with here, is it?
No.
It's the municipality. Is the municipality outside of the United States? If it itself is subject to the county, and the county is subject to the state, and the state has its own qualified immunity as its own sovereign entity, as its own nation state.
Yeah, that's true, because there are like 50 nations
make
up the United States. So that.
Well, you said something about the city attorney. The city attorney is the mayor's basically right-hand man. He tells the mayor whether he can do what he can do or not.
Right. It's the executive office is the mayor, but he doesn't have any authority. He's only the director. Okay. He can't even vote at city council. Right. So he's the principal as the executive, but the authority to issue anything is coming from the city attorney, and then the city attorney authorizes the issue, and then the city clerk actually issues it.
Well, the city attorney is that master commissioner.
Well, he'd be the legal representative. The commissioner is somebody else.
Well,
See,
he's now the master commissioner, but before Ruth stepped down, when I went in there, when I went into that meeting and started asking those questions about who deemed it necessary in the board and all that shit, and in that, remember that in that video where that bald-headed guy said you don't have to answer that question, and then I said, well, that's fine. It just proves you got something to hide or whatever, or shows that you may have something to hide or whatever. And well, he was the city attorney. That man right there is now the master commissioner after Ruth stepped down when I started asking all those questions.
Well, ask them if they're appointed, assigned, or acting.
Well, because remember when we were
because if they're not appointed or assigned and they're only acting, they have no authority.
And I believe they're probably all acting.
Oh, well, you just brought up something that made me remember that, was it Greg Reese, or what is it, on the Reese report, whatever, he came out and said that most government agents don't even have an oath of office on file.
Yeah, and see, that's what we're doing, is we're going to qualify them and find out whether they have the proper information filed. That's what I'm doing with
agent registrations or anything.
Yeah, that's
what I'm... Post, then they're impersonating officers.
Exactly, and that's what I'm going after the surety company. I want to find out all the documentation on these officers and make sure they're qualified properly. And if they're not, that's going to be blatant data elements that are material facts showing that they are not qualified, and that is a breach of contract and breach of trust, no matter whether they're making a claim against another official or one of the beneficiaries, because they're not qualified to begin with.
Well, you would almost have to think that they're not, because they go in for peace officer training and come out as police officers.
Yep.
There's a bait to switch there somewhere.
And real quick here, Imperium Privatus, what app are you using for note taking? I guess I don't understand what you're talking about there, because that's why I do these streams and show my sources. This is my note taking, and it's posted to the public. This is my freedom of speech and freedom of expression. It's a notice. It's in public. And
I meant the app that you type in your stuff.
Say what?
The app that you're using on the laptop. That's why I had multiple tabs on there that you write down notes on. That's what I meant by that question.
I guess I didn't get that. Your mic is off or something. Maybe you're too close. Back up or something.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I was referring to the app that you're using for note taking. I saw that you had multiple tabs on the laptop.
Oh yeah, that's
what the question was pertaining to.
Yeah, I'm just preparing. Those are all my preparations for my future videos and stuff. All the YouTube things up there are shorts for Insanity shorts, and then I've got a few more clips up there that are for the show later, or the stream later. And basically that's just what I do, is I line them up on my pages and then do my videos, and that's my actual note-taking session, is the videos. And again, that's why I say I have the 30 different profiles, so that if they try to strike me, it's kind of useless. They're going to have a hard time taking my information down. And this, again, is a matter of preserving your own record. And again, we'll be talking about this later when we talk about... Are you still hearing me, guys?
I am.
Okay, somehow Okay, there we go. My screen froze up. Robert says the Treasury and IRS will do the investigation and dirty work for you. You really don't need to prove their wrongdoing. Correct. And that's why I say I'm going to go to the surety company, and once they get that claim, and that's my next step if I want to go for any further damages or anything, would be the IRS, because they're going to get in to do the, they're the ones that would do the forensic auditing for securities. Okay. Now, again, like I said earlier, though, I'm not wanting to do that unless I have a reason to get some extra pecuniary recompense or something. Right now, I think I'll have plenty just by correcting the record and having those credits returned. But in the meantime, you know, oh well.
But who's the best collection agency out there?
IRS.
You got it. They're your best friend if you know how to use them.
Yeah, and again, that's what I'm saying. You know, people want to go to these courts and get a judgment, and then they can't enforce the judgment. The IRS will enforce it. They're the ones with the authority for collection. They're the collecting agent, not the courts. So that's the end of our stream for now. And like I said, I'll be back at 9 with journal stream. What do you guys got on the way out?
And as I always do, hoping everybody starts to be the change they wish to see. And always remember, popularity without a positive purpose is pointless and valueless.
Russ, before you take off, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt your message. It is a valuable one. But I wanted to ask you, or maybe bring up real quick, let me see if I can figure out how to articulate this appropriately. But hey, what I think you're touching on with the estate manager, I wanted to ask is, so right now they are administrators of the estate essentially because we haven't figured out how to administer our own estates. But so is the resolution essentially, you know, we either figure out how to manage our own estate or, you know, entrust certain, you know, trustworthy people that can do it effectively, appropriately.
Right, and that's that PMA stuff that Noah was talking about earlier. We have to learn how to start establishing our own PMAs, and in those PMA setups, that's where we start to where we have to know and have it prior planned our own form of government.
That's it. Okay, that's where I was getting at. Right.
So basically, that's what we're looking at. And again, that goes to the thing about the Second Amendment. Your right to bear arms and being coming forth as a militia. If we get into a civil war or anything, and we have to call upon the militia is the one that has to be able to come back and reform a government. So you can't just raise up in arms to put off a despotic government without having a remedy at hand.
No, the more appropriate name for a militia, because a militia just sounds scary, would be like a peacekeeping task force. You know,
right? The peace officers.
Right, we're trying to keep the peace.
Right,
trying to keep from a civil war.
Right, peace officers without the office. Peaceful beings. The state of being in peace. So,
well, peace is the only way to fulfill the law through love. So,
absolutely,
and equity.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right on. Thanks, guys.
You bet.
Right. Much love, everybody. Good seeing you again, Mitch.
And like I said, I'll be back at 9, so feel free to come back. I enjoy having people up on the panel. It helps fill in the gaps that I can't fill in. I need those questions like Noah brought up earlier and stuff. And of course, all your input, Mitch, is greatly appreciated. Like I said, go over to Mitch Lovin, MITCH Lovin on YouTube, Mitch Lovin. And then I guess 5-Speed, you've got a channel. And Imperium Privatus and Noah's World Order. If you guys have channels, let me know and I'll post them so we can start connecting.
It's all good, brother.
I don't at the moment.
How to cash out the bond the crooks writ on you. And that's where you do the forensic auditing and that net daily money transaction report will show that you're the true creditor. And they should be, again, that's when you bring in the IRS to do that forensic audit to return all of those credits. And yes, I will get with her and get that from her, brother. I think I got your, did I get an email from you or not? Let me double check. Yeah, I don't see a email from you here, brother. Send me your email and I'll transfer it to her, and that way you can get together with her. In the meantime, Noah or Imperium, you got anything to say on the way out?
I don't.
All right. Well, I appreciate your support, brother. Noah, you got anything to say on the way out, brother? Oh, we're going to give him a minute to come back in case he just clicked on the wrong button or something. Again, like I said, folks, I appreciate you coming up on panel and supporting us. We need that more and more. And again, like I said, when we have panels like this and we've got multiple aspects coming out, that helps me in filling in gaps, and you help in filling in those gaps as well, because I don't know everything and I don't have the same perspectives everybody else does. So it's imperative that we get those other perspectives so we can come up with an objective view. That's the imperative part, is having an objective view that will show us the objective truth that can't be denied. So think about this stuff, folks. And Noah, I certainly appreciate you coming up. And if you can't make it back here, we'll see you at 9. I'll be back at 9 o'clock talking about journaling and posting and the differences. And in the meantime, you guys know me. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. And that's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That's on you. So may God bless you and have a good day. We'll see you at 9.